Hello everyone, welcome back to Crafting Hut Shifty. It's been a while since I've done a video, so I'm excited to share this with you. I'm going to be making some hearts using the Memory Box Plush Hearts die. It comes with two pieces. You have the outside heart and the inside heart, and both of those cut the small kind of circles for the stitching lines, so you can just see those on the die there, and that makes it really easy to put this together and sew together a plush heart. So you don't have to use these with felt like I have here. You can also use them with paper, but I think if you use them with felt and then some stitching, it's really cute. So for this one I've just stitched the white heart on, and then I'm going to take a button and I'm just going to add that. Now you could sew the button on as well, but because I'd already sewed this down before I decided, I thought I'd cheat. So I've just took a piece of white embroidery floss, and I'll have links to everything that I've used in the description section down below if you're watching this on YouTube, and I'll also have a shopping list over on my blog. So I've just tied a knot using that floss, and then I'm just trimming that off at the back, and I'm just going to stick this down using some multi-matte medium glue. So the glue will hold that in place. It's not a fabric glue, it is just multi-medium matte. But if you have fabric glue, you could also use that. So once I've got that in place, I'm just going to set it to one side, and I'm going to be making these into keyrings. So to do that, I'm just going to take a strip of the felt, and I'm going to tuck that inside at the top of the heart, and just as I stitch around the edges, that will hold that in place. And I got this bag of kind of key rings from Amazon. It was really inexpensive, and I think it's really nice just to turn these into cute kind of little key rings. Another thing that I did with this one is I filled it with rice, so you can put it into the microwave for about 30 seconds and it will warm up, and it makes a cute little hand warmer. So I think that's a really nice gift as well. Okay, so now on to the sewing. So I am by no means a great seamstress. I just threaded the needle there, and I don't tie it off, I just kind of leave the loose ends, and that's what works for me. And then I'm going to show you here kind of a really basic, just a straight stitch, and also how you can just tie that thread at the end. Now, towards the end of this video, I will show another version of kind of sealing that thread where you don't have to tie a knot like this. So if you're worried about having that knot at the back of your felt heart, or whichever kind of felted die you use, then if you see at the end of the video, there is another way to do that, and I'll also show another stitch which I think I prefer to this straight stitch, but the straight stitch is really easy to get to grips with. I actually made a bunch of these with the Memory Box stocking die as Christmas tree decorations, and I did that with my boyfriend's niece, and she's 8, so you know, she got the hang of it really quick. She was actually faster than I was, so it is really easy. And I'm going to be making a whole load of these as gifts. I'm going to take the felt and cut out the shapes using the dies, and then add in a plastic needle and send those out to some of the younger children in my family. So now I'm just taking a spare piece of that felt and one of the key rings, and I'm just going to thread that through and then poke the ends inside of that heart. And as long as you remember to do this as you're stitching around, it's really easy just to then kind of poke through. So there won't be any holes, kind of guide holes within the kind of straight piece of felt that we've just tucked in, but the needle will still poke through. I'm using a proper needle rather than a plastic one. If you were using a plastic one, like in the gift sets that I'm going to send out to some of the children in my family, then I think you would struggle. But as I'm fully grown up and I'm allowed to use a proper needle, I just went ahead and did it that way. So you'll notice as I'm doing this straight stitch, it leaves a stitch. It kind of misses every other one. And that's okay, you can leave it like this, that's fine, or you can go back around the whole thing and stitch it again, so you go around the whole thing twice and that will fill in the gaps. So you will have just seen there that I've got some kind of, it's called soft toy stuffing. You can get this at most kind of general craft shops, or I got mine online at Amazon, and I'll have a link below so you can get that as well. And I'm just taking small pieces of that and stuffing it inside so we get a nice kind of fluffed up plush heart. So I mentioned earlier that this die is from Memory Box. Memory Box have actually collaborated with Simon Says Stamp and brought out some additional dies. I'm waiting on mine to arrive. I have ordered some from the Simon Says Stamp store, and I do know that Heidi from Simon Says Stamp gave us a sneak peek on Periscope of some of the new dies that are coming out. So I think these plush dies are going to be kind of a really big trend within the crafting world. It's something that is definitely becoming more popular, and as I say, there will be more and more dies coming out. Hopefully not too long. I don't think Heidi mentioned how long it would be, but they're definitely in production and she's got those, so hopefully it won't be too much longer, and I'll update the links in the description when those do come out so you can shop for those if you want. Some of them are out already, and I'll have a link there so you can shop for those. Okay, so now I've gone all the way around the heart. I'm just going to tie off that loose end. Really simply, I'm just going to snip that and then tie it to the start piece. And this will kind of fill in that gap there for the almost missing stitch. And once I've got that tied, I'll snip off the ends, and to be extra careful and certain that that knot isn't going to come undone, once I've cut the ends off, I just put a small square of multi-medium mat over the top to make sure it's sealed down in place. So there you have it. That's my very basic stitch for the plush dies. As I said, I will now show a slightly more complex stitch. I believe it's called a blanket stitch, but first of all, this is how I sealed the end, or the start rather. So I just pulled that thread through from the front and then tucked in the loose end and then stitched back through the same hole. So that just creates kind of a, I think maybe it's called like an overlocking stitch that just locks that in place, and I went through twice just to make sure that that doesn't unravel. It means you don't have to worry about having any kind of knot at the start of your sewing. So now for this blanket stitch, I'm going through from the front and creating a loop at the top and then pulling the thread through that loop. So I hope that makes sense. I'll show that a few times. So I'm poking through the front until there's just a small loop and then pushing the needle through that loop. And that creates a really nice kind of stitched effect where you have the thread running right along the outside of the shape and also kind of going in and out of those holes with the stitching. I hope that makes sense. It made sense to me. I've sped this up just so you can see that, and yeah, it's a really nice stitch. It seems to take about the same time as doing the straight stitch, and once you get the hang of it and you get into a rhythm, it is really easy. So there's a close-up of that stitching there if you want to use that blanket stitch. I do think it adds just a little something extra onto the product. And there's a collection of some of the plush products that I made using those dies from Memory Box. So thank you so much for joining me. I'll have more information over on my blog, which is linked below. And if you're interested in watching some more videos from me, I have a card making video on the left there and also a decoupage video on the right. If you're watching on your mobile, I'll have links to those below, as those clickable screen links won't work on a mobile. Thanks for watching, and if you're new to my channel, please do hit that subscribe button. Bye for now.